So the CID address is something like that, right?
Yes, sir.
One or 16 or whatever. Now you need to make it subnet, right? Subnet, right? You need to make 4 subnets, 3 and 4 subnets, right? Now it's your thing that you put that address into that website, that link. They will tell you that how many IPs are there. Suppose you got, I'm not exactly sure, that suppose 256 IP addresses are possible, and it will give you the first IP address and the last IP address. Okay, let's just try to understand. That's the real thing. The first IP address probably okay, I'm just making it up. It should be 255, sorry. Okay? Now you want to make 4 subnets. What you should be doing in real life, you just divide just randomly, right? So the first subnet is starting from 10.0.0.1 till 10.0.0. Just give a random number, like 60. So 60 computer I can put. So just put it 60. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
Are you following? So total how many? 255. So just divided by 60, right? And the second subnet, 10.0.0.61. Can you see the difference? Definitely, it must be after 1, right? 61, and you can stop it at 10, 10, 1, 60. Okay? You can go up to 255. So, I mean, this IP address is not just, it is basically 1 and 60, 61 and 160. Then the next one you can make what?
161
161 to suppose
260.
200, 220, for example, right? And then 221.
221 to 25.
Yes, so this is what. And then go to the tool, because you cannot put that IP addresses. So go to the tool of CIDR. So put this address, the first IP address and second IP address. It will generate a CIDR address. Are you following? Are you looking at it? Okay, so it can generate something like 225 by 16, something like that. It will not generate only one CIDR address, but multiple CIDR addresses. You can pick any one of them, because any of the CIDR address will corresponds to these IP addresses. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
So the tool is used to generate the IP ranges from the IP ranges to one single CIDR address that you need to make a subnet. That's it. All good now? Okay. This is exactly what you need in real life. If you become a cloud engineer, then you need all this partitioning. Okay? But in your lab, you don't need that basically. Even the CIDR address is given.
Yes, sir. Standard.
All good? Are you following? Okay. No, if you just understand that, that's fine. If you haven't known that, it doesn't matter. That's why I'm explaining that. I don't expect that you know everything, right? All these are really standard thing. I mean, pretty advanced thing. But what I'm saying is that the range of IP address to CIDR address, because you need CIDR address for AWS. That's why you need that software to identify that. But more importantly, you need to understand the basic concept. The basic concept is you are given a CIDR address to make a VPC, right? All good? And then from that CIDR address, you make use that software to divide how many IP addresses are possible. Then to make subnet, you just divide the partition, make the partition like the way I explained, and use that tool to identify the CIDR address and put it. That's why if you don't do it correctly, what will happen is that when you make the VPC with this address, right? Then when you make a subnet, then you sometimes, if you don't do that calculation, you try to randomly put a IP address, CIDR address randomly, and it will not accept it. It will say that it is wrong. You can try that. When you make a subnet, because CIDR address is already given in the assignment,
Yes, sir.
so if you put a different number, it will complain because you haven't calculated that properly. The CIDR address for the subnet and the VPC that is given in the lab is actually well calculated. That's why it doesn't make any complaint. All good?
Yes.
But that's not the realistic situation. In the real life, you need to partition it based on the needs. Because suppose you can imagine, suppose this is the 4 campus of ATMC, right? One of the campus is really small. Then you need to give a small number of IP addresses. Some of the campuses are really big. You need to put more IP addresses. That's why the partitioning, you need that most of the time when you become a cloud engineer. That I tried to explain in that PowerPoint slide. Okay, but in your lab it is given. Why it is given, if you look at the map, or if I read, because you already did that lab, right? You already did that major assignment, or some of you are doing. So there are one subnet, public subnet 1, which has VPC given 0, so 10, 10, so 10, 0, 0, 0, 16, right?
Yes, sir.
And another subnet 10, 0, 0, 0, 24. 10, 0, 1, 0, 24, right? So what you can do at this stage, you can use that tool like CIDR.xyz. You can go there, put that IP address of subnet in that tool. It will give you the range of IP addresses. And then when you create a when you create a EC2 or RDS into that subnet, you will find the IP address that is assigned must be within that range. That is the test that it is working correctly. All good now?
Yes, sir.
Suppose what I'm saying is that any question, anyone, do you have any question on this thing?
No.
All good, right?
Yes.
Now, what I'm saying is that if you make a EC2 here, so you made an EC2 here, right? Okay? Then you'll find the IP address of this EC2 must be within this range. That's it. Okay? That's it. So even if I ask in an interview question of cloud enrollment, cloud engineer, that why the IP address is like that? Now, I mean, if you don't understand the concept, you'll smile, right? Why is he asking such a stupid question? But it's not stupid, it's really a valid question. This I'm trying to understand his concept, basic concept. Right? It must be within that range. And AWS basically pick randomly a particular IP address within that range. And if you make another EC2, it will be given another IP address, but it's still within that range. If you want to make multiple EC2, more than 61, on the 61th instance, it will create an error. Okay? So that's the basic ideas. So all these networks are related for what? For resource allocation. How many resources you can allocate and so on, right? That is the basic. It's not coming. Okay, so if you look at this picture, you can see that what I'm saying is that the public subnet, right? So when you make a subnet, you have the CIDR address already. It is not an IP address, it is CIDR address, right? Okay, so it's already given. You don't need to follow that PowerPoint slide, right? I mean, but one student actually gave me a message that she would like to know the things, right? So never know that who can be, interested to know the details and so on. That's why, I just put that. But again, I'm repeating, that's not needed for your assignment. That is the explanation of all these CIDR addresses. Now, how to start that lab? The first thing is that this portion is not needed. You know that, right, all of you? The IAM is not needed at all. Okay, so that's a good thing. Second is that you have to create a VPC. So what you should be doing, I'm repeating again, that you start from lab week 5, right? I'm writing it clearly. Right? So week 5 lab should be the starting, right?
Yes, sir. 4 weeks.
Yeah. Okay, step 1. Right? This is starting point. And then what?
Skeletal.
Okay, you are guiding me, right? Security groups, right? Okay. Okay, that definitely. And then next. So which is lab week 7, right?
Yes.
And primary and secondary? How do you do it? There are 2 RDS, right? You made just 2 RDS, right? Okay, that's fine. Okay? You did 2 RDS. And just try, because it is mentioned master and slave. Can you see that? How did you do that? Master and secondary? You just give the name, right?
Yes, sir.
Master and secondary, that's good. I mean, I was thinking about that. I think even in the guidelines they didn't mention about that. But just try to think for a few days, right? If you can find any clue, technical clue that how to assign primary and secondary. Just try to think in a simple way. In your, I think in old days, all of you are using laptop, but do you have any desktop at home? Okay, no one is using. But in desktop, you can have multiple hard drive, right? Even in your computer, you can use an external hard drive, right?
Yeah.
It is a secondary. So do you do any technical thing to assign that? Not really, right? It's just a drive. All good? Okay, search. I just left it open. Is there any technical thing to differentiate that? Or maybe my question is completely not relevant at all, right? What I'm saying is that try to understand clearly what's happening to everywhere, right? And it must be nothing but your own computer, basically. In your own computer, you can have multiple operating systems, you can have multiple hard drive, and that's exactly what's happening in cloud. So what you did in your computer is exactly the same thing you're doing here, right? In terms of RDS, I'm talking about, not the other things. Because your computer doesn't have a VPC, right? But in RDS, you have multiple hard drives. So is there any really significant thing on master and secondary hard drive? Did you understand my question, all of you? Just Google it and try to find an answer. Okay? Any other question on that? And also the last thing is the video, right? Today in the lab we'll do that. Okay? In the meantime, you can search. In the search as a group work. In the group work, you try to do the useful thing, right? Try to search the culture and other things. Okay, I think you can turn on, right?